Hello guys, in this tutorial you have two parts. The first part is the theory of AJAX, and the second part you have practical. So in the second part you will have 3 projects. Hello guys, today we will see AJAX and what is AJAX. AJAX is a developer's dream because you can read data from a web server, update a page without reloading the page, sending data to a web server. So what is AJAX? AJAX is synchronous JavaScript and XML. AJAX is not a programming language. AJAX is just uses a combination of a browser built-in XMLHttpRequest object to request data from a web server, and JavaScript and HTML DOM to display the data. Because here are two things in AJAX. One is client, which is your browser, and the server where your database is released. So two things: one is client, which is your browser, your Chrome browser or your Firefox, and the server is your database where you are hosting your web applications. So here I will explain you how AJAX works. So as I said, there are two things. One is browser and second is server. Okay, server is where your database is and browser is you or client. So whenever an event occurs, you create an XMLHttpRequest object and you send that object, that request, to the server. So the server, what it does, so server, it processes the request which it is sent by you, and the server sends a response back to the web page back. Okay, then the response is read by JavaScript and then you can display it on your browser. So there are 3 main steps. One is when you create and you send. Second is server, it will process, it will create a response, it will send back. And the third step is when again your browser reads the data which is coming from the server and you display on the web page. Okay, here are some steps. An event occurs in web page. The XMLHttpRequest object is created by JavaScript. XMLHttpRequest object sends a request to the web server. The server processes the request. The server sends a response back to the web page, and then the response is read by JavaScript, and then you can display. So here, as we have seen that first we have to create the object and then send. Okay, so the request object has two things. Okay, methods, here are the methods, and properties. We will see it later on. So the XMLHttpRequest object, this is a keystone of AJAX, is the XMLHttpRequest object. The object can be used to exchange the data with the web server behind the scene. This means, for example, if you have a for example, let's suppose that this is the whole page is your web page, and here you have one module there, the blue one and light blue, and you have another module here, and you want to update either the dark one or the light one. You can update it using the AJAX without reloading the whole page. Okay, so here's the syntax. The first thing is you have to create an object of XML HTTP request. This is the object that you have to create. Okay, this object you create on your browser, in your browser, right? And then you send. We will see it later on. So the object is created. Now this object has some methods. Okay, so methods, the most important methods are this one, the XML HTTP request. The second is open method, and the third is send. So in the later slides you will see that I will repeat these things, but make sure that you understand that you have to use three methods of HTTP request object. One is HTTP request when you create, and then open, and then send. You open means that you have to provide the method, either the get or the post, we will see later on. Then URL, the location of your file, where the file is located, and the async. Async is either true or false. So true is when you want your data to be transferred asynchronously, and if it is false, then synchronously. We do not recommend, well, people do not recommend to use false, always use the true. Okay, and now here are some properties. So in these properties we're gonna use on ready state change, ready state, response text, and status. These three, 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, because the status text and the status is identical. They both are identical. If you see the code OK and not found is 404. So here we are using, here you have the same thing, OK and not found. So we will only use 1, 2, 3 and 4. If your database is if your server is returning database in XML form, then you will use this. If your server is returning the data in JSON format, then of course you will use response text. So the first thing is that this property we're gonna use. This property, what it does is defines a function to be called when the ready state property change. In the next slide I will show you that how we can use the first property on ready state change, and then we have to check a ready state and the status. So as we have seen that this object we have already created, and then this is the property. Whenever we call this this property, a function is called. Okay, so the main function, the main purpose of this function is that to check the ready state and the status code. So ready state and the status code. Here is the ready state and the status code. Okay, so if the ready state is 4, means request finished and response is ready to be sent. Status is 200 or OK. Okay, so when these two conditions are met, then we can process. So if this ready state is 4 and this status is 200, okay, then we will get response text. This is a property that we will get from the response object. We will see later on the response object which is coming from the server. Currently we are looking on the client side. Okay, so when response is sent, you see, then we will get, as we have seen, that we're gonna use this method as well, open and send. And here we have already seen that we're gonna use three parameters here. One is get, you can get or post, the location of your file, and asynchronously true or false. So as we said that we're gonna use, we do not recommend false, we always recommend true. So true is here, and here is the either the name of the file or the URL you can put, and here is the method, either get or post. So if you want information from the server, you use the get method. If you want to send data to the server, then you put as a parameter. So now, as we have seen the first method, now we're gonna see the request method. Okay, the request method is coming from the server. So XMLHttpRequest object is used to exchange the data with the server. So here are the methods. You see, method, URL, and async. Specify the type of request. The method, the type of request, either get or post. URL, the server or the file location. Asynchronous or synchronous. So true or false. So we recommend always use true. And then the send method. The send method send the request to the server for the get. And if you want to to post, so then you can use the string method. So mainly we use open and send method. So get and post method. So get is simpler, faster than post, and can be used in most cases. However, always use post request when a cache file is not an option, sending a large amount of data to the server, and then sending user input. Okay, in these cases you can use post, otherwise you always use get. So here is a small syntax, a simple get request and post request. So again, you have the object, and then you open. This is the method open. Either you can use get or post. Post is here, and here is the location of the file and true, and then send. Again, for the post, same thing. Only thing which is changed is method, either get or post. And now the server response, the response we will get from the server. Again, here you have the thing we have already seen. Always use the ready state, which is 4, and status is 200. We will get the response from the server, and then we can process it. So on ready state change property. So here is the property of XMLHttpRequest object. Ready state property holds the status of the XMLHttp request, which holds the property. On ready state change property defines a function to be executed when the ready state changes. So here are things as I have mentioned. This is the property, second, third, and fourth. We're gonna use these 4. Okay. So when the ready state is 4, status is 200. Okay, then we will get a response. So here is server response property. So here we have 2 properties, but it depends. If you want the data in a text format or JSON, then of course you're gonna use this property. If the data is in form of XML, of course you're gonna use this property. And server has also some methods: get response header and get all response header. Mostly we gonna use only this one, but here are some more methods if you want. The response text, which is the property here, returns the server response as a JavaScript string, and you can use it accordingly. So now we will see in practice about AJAX. So here is the folder I have created. You can create the folder wherever you want, either on C, on D directory, wherever you have space. So the first thing that we're gonna create is to create a new file, index.html. Okay, I'm using some extensions. So if you just type exclamation mark and tab, it will automatically create this boilerplate code. So AJAX title should be AJAX tutorial. Okay, here we can put as well h3 AJAX tutorial. Let me run. I'm using also extension of live server. You can always install. So open in live server. So here is the page. Okay, now we are going to create a small file of text file. I will call it simple.txt. okay, in this file I will just put lorem 50. okay, whatever you want, or you can type this. Much better to put this text is coming from a file called simple.txt. So now we are going to create a JavaScript file. I will call it main.js, and in the HTML I will put the reference of this file, script main.js. We need a button as well in HTML. So button ID, I will give a button get text from file. Okay, and I will put a break because when server will return the text, of course we will put it at a new line, and I will create a div as well, and div I will call id.text. okay, because in this div you will see the text. Maybe I can put some style, background color red. okay, width I can give 400 pixel. okay, and height I can give 500 pixel. Maybe width I can give 800, and I can give 200. yeah. So the text which we will get from this file will display in this div. okay, but let me put another break. yeah, so we can see the difference. yeah, save it. okay, so now the main thing is we are going to put is in JavaScript main file. So the first thing, I can close this one. So first thing that we're gonna use is we're gonna use the document object, document.getElement by ID. So ID is button. okay, so whenever I click on this button and add event, an event will occur. okay, So which event? The event is click event. Okay, and it will call a function. So call the function called load text. Okay, we can give load text. So now we will create this function load text. So the first thing is to create, I will put here first, create XHR object. Okay, so variable XHR, create a new XML HTTP request. So the object is created. Okay, now we have to open it. Second is open with there are three things: method, URL or file, and then true or false. So XHR dot open, the method is get. Okay, file name is simple dot text dot txt, sorry, and then true. Okay, so the simple file is there. We're gonna read this file and it will display in this div. XHR, again same object. When on load, this is the method, this is the property of XML HTTP request object. So when this property is called, we're gonna run a function, and the function, what it will do, if this means this object status is 200, means everything's okay. Let's console first to check everything, if everything is working. This dot response text. Response text is a property. Okay, else if this status is 400, then of course console dot log this dot response text. So we will see in both cases. Okay, so let me open the developer tool. Console is there. When I click here, nothing is happening, right? When I click here, nothing is happening. Why? Because everything is the object is created. Open the object. Now the open method is called, on load property is called, but we did not send the request. So XHR dot send. So this is the method which was missing. Okay, so now if I click here, we are getting the text from this file, simple. You see, this text is coming from a file called simple.txt. This text is coming from the file. If I put let me copy it again. Okay, if I click here, you see the text is coming. That's a good thing. Let me close this one. Let me close this one. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to display this text in this div. Okay, and maybe I can check, for example, instead of, yeah, if I put the wrong name of the file, simple, I put with double P. I click here, you see 404 not found. So this is the response which is coming from here, response text. Okay, return the text response thrown an invalid state. So to correct it, the text is coming. That's a good thing. Now we're gonna display this text this text in this div. Now, so document, which is the whole object of this page, document, okay, get element by id. Id is text, right? You can see here, this is the text of the id, which called text of this div. The inner HTML is a property of this document, or document that you want to change the inner property, the inner HTML. Inner HTML, what it will be? It will be the this dot response. Why? Because the response is coming from the server, and we want to display this response text. Or in case if it is not coming, then we can put here not found 404. Okay, now if I click here, the text is there. See, this is how you can use AJAX and the object of X, which is called XMLHttpRequest. The first thing is that you have to create an object, then you open, then third one is call a function, okay, and fourth one is use send method. So this is how you can use AJAX request in your web browser. So now the second project is that we're gonna read, instead of text file, we are going to read from a JSON file. Okay, let me copy this one, Control C, Control V, and I will call it index JSON. Okay, and yeah, I will create a new file of user.json. okay, and in this file I will create only one object of JSON, like id 1 named week and email week@gmail.com. okay, that's it. What we have done, we have index file, which is index.json, the user.json, the file we have created, and now we're gonna use that file. So let me open the JSON XML. okay, AJAX tutorial reading a JSON file. okay, so then you know what we are, and then we change get JSON data, okay, and instead of main we can copy it and we can main JSON. okay, or just simply JSON, so then we don't confuse JSON.js, and yeah, here I have to give the reference of JSON. The shortcut is that you press control and spacebar, and it will suggest you the files which are in your current directory. So JSON.js. okay, so here I will see that the thing which we need here, yes, here the same thing, the ID is always button. Okay, the button, click load text, or I will call it load user. Okay, load user. Here again I will copy this one, load user. Okay, again the first thing is that we have to create the object. The object is created. Okay, second we have to open, but in this case we have to change the file. Here we have user.json. let me make it sure, user.json, yeah, user.json, the true. Okay, and onload function if the status is 200, console response. Okay, let me check what we get here. Okay, perfect. The text and the response we are getting, right? Now we have to put this text in this div, but in a proper way. For that, what I have to do is, yeah, I can remove this one. Okay, because here we have to put the text in a proper way. So first thing is that I will put I will parse it. Okay, I will parse the JSON data, this dot response text. So I'm gonna parse it. Okay, let me console it. User. So now you see it is yeah, let me do it in both ways so you can see how it was, like this. So here you can see it is this one, but let me put console load JSON format. Okay, and this one is in JavaScript object. So this one is in JSON format as it was in this file. In this file it is similar at we are getting there. Okay, and here it is in string format. So all the double quotes from the key are removed, but for the value it is always there, because of course when you put the value or string, it should be in double quotes, and if the numbers shouldn't be in the double quote in JavaScript. So now I can remove this one because I don't need this one, neither this one. Okay, so here is the, yeah, of course we were getting. Now I have parsed the data. I will create another variable, will call it output. By default it is empty. Okay, now I will add output. I will add a ul under ordered list plus list item. Okay, I will call this id this I will get from user.id, right, plus I will add another list item, and then again list item, I will call it name, and this I will get from user.name, right, and then another list item, I will call it email, and this I will get from user dot how do I call it, email, okay, email, then I will call it again list item, and then again one more, and I think, yeah, this is the last time, or this is unordered list. I'm going to close this one. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I have to close it. Yeah, this one I have to close it. Again, this one I have to close it, and again this one I have to close it. So list item ID, which it is getting for user.id, and then list item name getting from this one. Yeah, okay, once everything is done, then I will say okay, document.get element by id. Here we is the text, I think. Yeah, id is text, that the id of this div called text, dot inner html dot output. Okay, let's see. Here we go. You see, let me put a break here so we can see it. Yeah, here we go, that we have successfully retrieved the data from a JSON file, right? So this was the file. Here we have only one object, okay, and in this object we have three properties: id, name, and email. We want to put this data in this div, which is text, div called text. Here what we have done is that we have created an object, XMLHttpRequest. Then the second step is open method. We have called the open method. The third is the onload property, which will execute a function, and the fourth is the send method. So this is how we can retrieve the data from a JSON file. So now we will see another example of GitHub users. For example, if I go on GitHub and retrieve users, you see these are the API. This is the API I'm using of GitHub, so you can easily see the users. Here we have an array, and in this array I think we have 40 objects, and in each object we have different key value pair, login, and then we have URL, then avatar, the type of user, and the ID as well. So in this example we will try to retrieve users. You can install JSON reader extension from Chrome extensions. There are many. Okay, let me close this one, and here I will copy again this one, JSON, and I will rename it to index GitHub. Okay, here I can close this one, I can open this one, and AJAX tutorial reading from GitHub's API. Okay, button, get users. Okay, and here I can remove this div because we have a lot of data that we're gonna retrieve, so I can remove this one. Retrieved data, so it will appear retrieved data here. I can JSON.js, I can copy this one, and I would rename it GitHub. Okay, now what I need is index GitHub. Okay, and here I need GitHub as well. GitHub. Okay, now let me open the GitHub here. Yeah, and let me remove this one. Okay, and here we will put this address. Yeah, here. Okay, and we will try to see console.log response.text. Okay, let me open the developer tool. To open the developer tool, you just press on F12. So get users. Okay, response text is not defined. Okay, it is yeah, that's true. Okay, here we are getting the data. So actually it should be users instead of user because there are many. Get users, so there are 30 objects in this array. So now what we want to retrieve is maybe ID and avatar URL. We will try to retrieve these two, and maybe we can retrieve login as well. Yeah, login, ID and avatar. So again the same thing is let me create a variable output. By default it is empty. Okay, I will create a for loop for this one in users. output. Here I will create a div, and let me first create div and then I will see. And here of course I have to create an image HTML tag, image src source, and so it should be coming from users because it is an array. So give me array the first whatever the element it is, avatar underscore URL. So avatar URL is coming from here, avatar URL, avatar URL. Okay, then single quote double quote width should be 70. Okay, height should be 70 as well. Let me close this one. Okay, so the first element is done. Yeah, now the second one is UL, the UL, then list item ID, users, of course we're gonna retrieve the ID, we're gonna close this item, this HTML element. Now again I can this UL is not closed. Let me copy this one. So here list item should be login, and list item it is closed here. Then we have to close the unordered list. Okay, and then we have to close the div tag. Okay, invalid left hand side expression in postfix operation J30. So on here, yeah. Okay, let me save it. So it means the syntax is correct. Let me click here. Okay, the data is coming, that's good. Now let me put it into Control Z. So document get element by ID, and what is the ID here? Div ID we can give users. Okay, so the div ID is users because we're gonna display the data in users inner HTML output. So you see we can see the login is not defined, ID is coming, and the picture is not coming. So what is the issue with okay, so login it is, I think wait, login is not uppercase, it's lowercase. Okay, and the avatar URL, avatar underscore URL. Good. So actually it is src and not scr. So here you go, we have successfully retrieved three properties: login, id, and avatar. So if we want to give some css property, let me create a css here, style.css. okay, so we can give a class to div class user. In this class we can say user class display as a flex, background light gray. Okay, padding 10 pixel everywhere, margin bottom can give you 10 pixel. Okay, and the user and the unordered list, which is in users class, list style is none. Okay, so the now as we have renamed it, now we have to give the style sheet link here as well. So underneath the title I can give a link and then style.css. I made a mistake because I did not put the double quote on the user. So here we can see that we can successfully retrieve the data. Okay, so make sure here this div you call users. Okay, and in the JavaScript file, of course you have to get the element by id, which is user, which is this id, this id of this div. Okay, and here you have a variable called users. Okay, and from this user variable you will retrieve all the properties which are coming from GitHub APIs. And when you give a class in the JavaScript to this to decorate these divs, so you have to give the name of the class is user, and again you put the class name user in the CSS file. So this is how you can change some CSS properties, and you can play with CSS properties, and you can see how we can retrieve the data from GitHub APIs using the AJAX call.